Good morning. This is Miss Dean. Today we are going to review and go over email etiquette as you guys work through virtual learning, whether you're still at home or having to, submit so many assignments online, even while you're here at school. We thought it would be a good lesson to go over just some email etiquette and how to present yourself in an email to either your teachers when you go to college, your professors, co-workers in the future, if you work now, if you have to email your boss. So, all right, moving forward. So just some basic rules that you want to think about when you go to send an email to someone. You always want to have a subject line so that they have a heads up about what you might be emailing about. Emails should not be incredibly long. I understand that sometimes there might be more things to discuss than other times, but you always want to try and be directly to the point. A lot of times when emails get long, a lot of things can get lost in translation. So as clear and to the point as you can be is always great. Always include a proper salutation in closing. So proper salutation would be, how you start your email, whether it's good morning or dear Mrs. Dean, however you start it. We'll go over that, but you want it to be a proper salutation. And at the end, you want it to be a proper closing. So, say sincerely, and then your name, or thank you for your time, or just thank you. When you use capital letters in an email, a lot of times a teacher or anybody you could be emailing, counselor, friend, anything, can look at this as you're shouting. So depending on the message you're getting across, that might not and probably will not be the best thing to do. And this is really important, and I've found myself, having to learn to do this just because there is so much information that people try and put out to try and answer as many questions before, maybe an event or with assignments that you guys have. So make sure that you look into everything. Like if you have a question for a teacher about an assignment that is due or a class policy, look at the teacher's syllabus, look at the assignment information, make sure you've kind of checked everything out before you email a question. All right, just a few more rules. You want to make sure to clearly identify yourself. If a teacher does not know who's emailing them, then it can be a little confusing. And just so you guys know, our teachers can have up to 180 students or more all throughout the day, all school year long. So there are a lot of you compared to one of them. So you always want to make sure to clearly identify yourself. You want to be polite. Again, I'm sure you all know in this tech age that different text messages and things like that can come across in certain ways. So you want to make sure to be as clear and as polite as possible so that things that you're asking about or that you're addressing are not taken the wrong way. This is not a text message. You want to write in full sentences with correct punctuation. Always make sure to proofread before you send out an email. A lot of times, I'll have to go back and reread emails before I send them, just because when you're quickly, going through things, you can easily make an error. So just like you would proofread an English paper or an assignment, you want to proofread your emails as well. You don't want to use too many fancy fonts or things like that, especially if you're sending an email and all of your the words are in like a teal color, then it might not be very easy for somebody to read. And like a lot of times, some of the fonts can be really hard to read depending on how large you make the font and things like that. So, just basic New Times Roman, things like that. It's always best to stick with things of that nature. You never want to use emojis or anything like that. You want to keep your emails as professional as possible. Like we said a few minutes ago, you want to think about your opening and you want to make sure it's proper and respectable for who you're emailing. As it's saying here, I know a lot of you are dual enrollment, or maybe will be in the future, or will go to college and have professors. You'll want to check and, see, are they a doctor, a Mr., a Mrs.? So you always want to check and make sure you have that. And then you'll see below some of the examples. You can say, hello, dear Dr. Smith, or hello, Mrs. Smith. You always want to just have a pleasant and proper greeting. An appropriate closing, same thing we mentioned a few minutes ago. Some more examples: respectfully, thank you for your time, thank you for your consideration, best regards. So all of these right here are examples of how to properly close an email. As we go through this, I do want to let you guys know as well, this will be on your student Canvas page for the Northside Communications under the ILT module. So I know we're kind of quickly going through this just to go over it right now, but if you need it as a reference, we will have it available to you where you can go back and rewatch this video, and we can probably just post the actual PowerPoint for you as well. When you email a teacher or counselor, anybody, all of these are for all, any email situation, you want to make sure that you present yourself with a good attitude. And I know that sometimes, depending on what you're emailing about, you might be in a frustrated situation or upset about something, but you always want to take a step back and, you don't really want to answer something when you're upset or angry, because you're in a certain mood. So you don't want that to come across in an email where, if it's something where if you give yourself an hour to think about it, your mood and your tone might change. A bad attitude example would be right here. Hi, Mr. Dean, you still have not sent me that book information for class, and I have already sent you 3 emails. I need it ASAP. To tell a teacher what you need, it's not going to come across very well. It's going to come across better if you look at the bottom where the student is asking for the information that they missed. A lot of times, you have to remember, I know it can sometimes get frustrating if you have already emailed a teacher or counselor about something and you have not heard back, but you just want to be patient, know that everybody is working through, especially as we have, virtual learning. Teachers are working through tremendous amounts of emails. So make sure to give them time. If you're here in person, it wouldn't hurt to ask in person if possible. And if you're not here at school, and if you have emailed a teacher multiple times, you can always call and talk to your counselor. And, if it's to a point where you need something and you have not heard back, you can call and talk to us and we can help to be an advocate. Sometimes, emails might get lost in spam and things like that. If you use your GTID email that's provided from the school district, that typically will not happen. But just again, remember to give teachers time to answer you back. 48 hours is typically the amount of time that would be respectable. I know a lot of our teachers are way quicker than that, but just know that they are constantly working to help you guys out. So you want to present yourself with the best attitude possible, just so you don't want an email to kind of sway how somebody thinks you are all the time. So just be aware of that. This is just more examples. When you answer things with quick replies, as you see here, it just says yep, with no punctuation, no capitalization. It just kind of shows maybe that somebody does not care. It's how it's interpreted. I'm too busy. I don't have time for you. You're not worthy of a capital Y. So an appropriate answer to something would be yes. Again, you just want to be professional with everything that you're doing. And I know that you guys are learning that as you work through high school, but the more you can practice that now, the better it will be, and the more it'll become just habit as you write emails. You want to avoid negative words in an email and use positive words instead. So here's some examples of that. Some negative connotations or way of phrasing things would be the problem I have, or I'm unable to finish the assignment before Friday afternoon. So the positive to saying the problem I have would be the situation I have, and the positive to I am unable to finish would be I can submit the report no sooner than Friday afternoon. And with that, at least you are letting them know when you can do it, and it's in a more positive tone of I will do it, by this time. If you do have negative information for a teacher, you want to try and sandwich an email with some positives. So make sure, discussing, the negative, try and put it in the middle. And hey, we understand it's not always possible depending on the situation, but it's just things to be aware of as you compose your emails. And you don't really want to place the blame on anybody, because a lot of times we don't know every situation and why things might be happening. So even if you're not sure you should be taking responsibility, I would not place the blame on anyone else for things going on. As I said before, unfortunately, it's the world we live in where, an email can say a lot about you. So how you address your emails to professors and colleagues and bosses and even friends and, other people you work with, it can give a sense of who you are in an email. And even if that's not the case, a lot of times, you might send an email to somebody before they get the chance to meet you, and that email kind of sets the tone for their opinion of you. And you want to make sure to keep it positive. And you could be an awesome student and so involved, but if your first interaction with somebody is placing blame or looking at all the negatives, that's kind of hard to get out of your mind. You want to create a sense of professionalism and maturity, and just keep it positive. And again, just try and keep it simple. A lot of times if it gets a little too detailed, then that's maybe something that can be discussed in a Zoom meeting. The more simple an email, people can quickly get to it, and also it'll help you stand out because they can just go ahead and handle whatever is going on. So here you'll see the structure of an email. So I'm going to start with the salutation, and that's again, where you're saying, dear so-and-so, dear Mrs. Dean, whatever it might be. And then your greeting, always say hello or good morning, good afternoon, whatever it might be. And you always want to identify yourself. And especially, right now, even if you've come back to school, the teachers are just now getting to see you in person. So you want to include your full name when you have their class, and then, go ahead and go into why you're contacting them. And you want to try and be clear and precise, but again, not too wordy when discussing whatever the concern or question is. And then, like we talked about, say, give an ending with a thanks, or sincerely, anything like that, and your sign off with your name. So it's a pretty simple structure that you can follow here. Here's a sample of a positive email that a student would write about, concerns they have going on in class. So I'll just give you guys a minute to read that. Okay, you'll see throughout the email they had an appropriate salutation, introduced who they were, what class period they were from, what class subject, because sometimes different teachers teach, multiple subjects. And she, said exactly why she was emailing, and she kind of gave a clear description of, that everything's just not real clear to her in class. And then she also listed what she has done where she's been proactive before contacting the teacher. And then asked, the teacher if they'd be willing to meet to help understand the content. As you guys know, our teachers are more than willing to tutor you, and some of them, they all have various ways to set up tutoring. You might have to sign up for it. They might have certain days and times, but just ask them what would work best. And if that, it's always nice to say, if that won't work for you, please send me times that will work. So, and if you play sports or anything like that, you might, try and explain, like, if you could come for morning, explain that after school. You have a previous commitment, but if they cannot work it out to do the morning, then you've got to talk to your coach and try and see what you can do to be flexible about tutoring. But like I said, as you can see, they hit all the points that we discussed on here, but then they also kept it very short and simple. So last thing, if you guys have time today, take a minute to just, write out how you would email a teacher in this scenario. You are checking your grades in Infinite Campus when you see a 0 has been put in for an assignment that you are positive you turned in. You would like to ask your teacher why a 0 has been put in the grade book for something you did complete. Compose an email to your teacher asking for guidance on the situation. Again, if you just have time to practice sending an email, feel free to do that. If not, remember that we will have all of this posted for you under the Northside Communications ILT module. We just want to have this available to you again in this information age, and where a lot of what we're doing, even if you're here at school, is virtual. We want to make this accessible to you in case you need to see the example again about how to compose a good email and kind of the do's and don'ts of what an appropriate email looks like. Thanks for your time this morning, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.